Hello everyone, welcome back to Framerate Factory, where every frame matters. Today we're testing Resident Evil 9 Requiem on our budget gaming star, the GTX 1660 Super. Resident Evil 9 Requiem is one of the most anticipated games of the year and has generated a lot of excitement since its reveal. As the latest entry in Capcom's legendary survival horror franchise, the game brings stunning visuals, detailed environments, and the dark atmosphere that Resident Evil fans have come to expect. With its next-generation graphics and demanding visual effects, many players are wondering whether older GPUs can still provide a smooth experience. So let's find out how well the GTX 1660 Super handles Resident Evil 9 Requiem at 1080p. Let's start with the low preset at 1080p using TAA only, with no upscaling enabled. I'm also going to use normal texture quality across all settings to keep VRAM usage under control, as the GTX 1660 Super only comes with 6 GB of VRAM. In this opening section of the game, we're seeing FPS mostly in the low to high 50s due to the scene complexity and the large number of NPCs on screen. However, as soon as we move into more secluded areas, performance improves significantly, and FPS can climb into the 70s. There's a little bit of stuttering here and there, with 1% lows dropping into the mid-30s. But overall, the gameplay still feels smooth and enjoyable, while the visual quality remains surprisingly good, even at the low preset. Moving on to the medium preset, we're still running at native TAA with no upscaling. Performance has dipped slightly compared to the low preset, but for the most part we're still staying above 60 frames per second, with occasional drops into the high 50s during heavier scenes. In my opinion, the game still feels quite smooth to play, despite the frame time graph showing some minor stutters. Visually, the game continues to look excellent, and at these settings you're getting a good balance between image quality and performance. So if you're looking for decent visuals while maintaining smooth gameplay, the medium preset is already a very solid option. Moving on to the high preset, we're still running at native resolution using TAA. Even in this crowded section of the game, performance is surprisingly still, managing to break above 60 frames per second at times. However, for most of the gameplay, FPS stays somewhere between 50 and 60. Occasional stutters can still be felt, with performance sometimes dropping into the mid-40s during heavier moments. At this point, I think we're starting to reach the limits of the GTX 1660 Super, so pushing the settings much further doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But for those of you who want to completely max out the game, don't worry. I'll also be showing maximum settings using FSR quality and FSR frame generation. That being said, I personally don't think FSR upscaling is necessary in this game. While it does provide a performance boost, the image becomes noticeably blurrier and grainier compared to native resolution. Instead, I recommend sticking with native TAA and enabling FSR frame generation if you're looking for higher frame rates while preserving image quality. With maximum settings, FSR quality, and FSR frame generation enabled, performance becomes much more impressive. FPS is now quite variable, ranging from the low 90s all the way up to well over 110 frames per second, depending on the area. Since I'm playing with a controller, which is also how I think this game is best experienced, the additional latency introduced by frame generation is barely noticeable, and the gameplay still feels very smooth. However, I can't say the same about the image quality. Personally, I feel that FSR upscaling makes the game look noticeably blurrier and grainier, especially when looking at character hair and finer details throughout the environment. So if you ask me, I would only use FSR frame generation in this game while sticking to native resolution with TAA. That way, you get most of the performance benefits while maintaining much better image quality. And now it's finally time for the optimized settings, which I think are the sweet spot for the GTX 1660 Super if you're looking for the best visual quality while maintaining a smooth experience. With these settings, I'm still using native TAA with no upscaling, and performance generally stays between 60 and 70 frames per second throughout most of the game. I've actually finished the entire game using these settings, and in my opinion, they offer the best balance between visuals and performance. If you're looking for even higher frame rates, you can simply enable FSR frame generation while keeping TAA enabled. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps support the channel and motivates me to keep making more benchmarks, optimization guides, and graphics comparisons. Also, don't forget to leave a like if this video helped you out. My next video will feature the RTX 3070 Ti and one of the most popular game releases right now, so stay tuned for that.